just started doing a little bit of a vlogging video, but then I realized that I have a little bit of time and I wanted to start video on one of the content that I talked about before, because I would like to get those up on the channel, because I would like to give people perspective on it, as well as kind of document where we are right now, because we're not going to be here much longer in the position in life that we're in, you know. So I wanted to document some of that now, so I cut off the vlog to start doing this video. I did want to do like a sit down video, but in all honesty, I really think those are going to be really hard to do. And part of the reason why I didn't want to do it, or didn't get to do it on the other channel, is because it just takes a lot to be able to schedule and sit down and say, okay, I'm going to do a video. In the car, I have time, and it'll be a lot easier for me to put together in the car. So a lot of them may be car videos. If you guys don't like that, I'm sorry. It's just where I'm at right now, what I'm able to do. Once the kids go to school next year, I'll be able to do more like sit down videos and content, but for right now, I got to take it where I can get it. So this video is going to be about homeschooling, why we chose to homeschool, the journey through homeschooling, and then I'll do a separate video on the curriculum that we're currently using, kind of thoughts, feedback, yes or no type of thing. So why we chose to homeschool, basically. Okay, so my son was in public school in Virginia before we moved here. He completed first grade in Virginia. When we moved here, it was the start of the second grade year, and he started school at one of the schools here on the island when we first got here. However, I did explain in one of the previous videos, I'm sorry for the car flopping. My phone holder is broken, but it still holds the phone, so we haven't replaced it yet. So he did start school here, and he went to a school while we were in lodging. I mentioned in one of the previous videos that Hawaii is really strict with their zoning, and that the child has to go to the school for that zone, and it's really hard to get a GED. It's called a GED. It's I think it's like a geographical exemption something, and that will allow them to go to a school outside of their zone. However, those are really hard to get, from what I'm told. We did try to get them at the second school that he was in, and we were denied both times. So they are kind of difficult to get, unless you're like pulling your kid out to go to a private school, because those are in specific areas. So he started school and everything was okay. He was there for about a month and a half, and everything seemed to be going fine. But then towards the end, he was telling us that he was being bullied. He was coming home crying and upset because kids on the playground were pushing him and tripping him. And I believe he said it was one specific kid, but he would not give us the name. He would not. It didn't matter how hard we pushed. It didn't matter what approach we took. He did not want to give us the name. And I didn't press it any further than that. Looking back on it now, I wish I would have pushed just a little bit more, but he was also leaving the school. So we didn't want to make, not that we didn't want to make a huge deal about it. There was just not much we could do because he was leaving the school. And with him leaving the school, I mean, it would have taken longer to figure out who the kid was, and try to get punishment handed down than it would have taken for him to be out of that school, because that's how quickly we were leaving. So, we were leaving that school, and when we finally bought our house and we moved in, he switched to a different school. So now, mind you, we left Virginia right when the school year was starting here. So he started school late. He was being bullied. He had to switch schools again when we moved. So a whole new school. And at this point it was October. So they had been in school for a few months. And then he was bullied again. And it wasn't physical bullying this time. It was verbal bullying, which I don't know. They're both extremely bad, don't get me wrong, but my child is super emotional and super sensitive like me. He gets it from me. And I don't know, for me, I feel like the emotional abuse is just more scarring. It just feels like, you know, words hurt a lot. And I think that's something that kids don't realize, because they say stuff and they don't realize how deep words can cut somebody. And you know, if you get shoved or you get kicked, that's one thing, the bruises heal, but I feel like emotional scarring can last a really long time. And like I said, not to put down one or the other, they're both extremely horrible and both should never be tolerated, but I guess that was just kind of my thought process on it. So he was being verbally abused at that school. It was verbal bullying. A lot of, we don't want you here. Go back to where you came from. You don't belong here. Nobody wants you. Nobody's going to play with you. Those kinds of things. And when we found out about it, just because of the area we lived in was primarily locals, and I had incidences up there as well, of just unkind people, and I just chalked it up to whatever. But when that happened, I already automatically knew that we weren't really going to get anywhere with it. As horrible as that is to say, I didn't even want to fight it. We had been mentioning homeschool for a really long time at that point. I had wanted to do it in Virginia, but the school was really great, so I just didn't. And then I had Will and Maddie, so we just didn't homeschool there. So at this point, we had already talked about it a little bit, and I was like, you know what, let's just pull him out. We're just going to pull him out. We're just going to homeschool, and we'll figure it out. You know, if he goes back to school when we leave here, that's fine. If not, then he'll just stay homeschooled. So we pulled him out. We decided to do, the very first curriculum that we tried was classical conversations. And the reason that I chose that, now mind you, I want to put something out there, and I know some people are going to disagree with this. I really hope that in the future it doesn't cause arguments once the channel has more followers. We were looking for a secular-based curriculum. My husband and I are neither super religious. I have my religious beliefs. My husband has his. We don't attend church. We don't teach the kids a ton of religion. We do talk about Jesus. We do talk about God. We talk about those things, but not in a format to where they're being taught it on a regular basis. We just kind of mention it in passing. So I will do a whole separate video on that. I just don't know. That's one to tread lightly, because obviously religion is a very hot topic for a lot of people, and people are very, very passionate about their beliefs. So we were looking for a secular curriculum. They're really hard to find if you don't piece them together yourself. We belong to a couple of secular, well, I belong to a couple of secular Facebook groups here located on Oahu for homeschooling families. And from what I could see, it was just a lot of pieced together curriculums. And my type of personality, I need organization, I need it laid out for me, and I need something to follow. And that just wasn't what I was finding. So we found classical conversations, and I really liked it because they did a group meeting every single week, which is something that I really wanted, because I need to see to be able to do something, to be able to learn. I need to be able to see it. And that was really important for me, and they met up every week. So that was like perfect. So we started that. He started in the younger class because he was new to the curriculum and he had never homeschooled before. So they started him in the younger class. He was kind of on the cusp of being in one or the other. And she, the director of our chapter, decided that we would start him in the younger class to see how he did, to kind of get him used to it, get him used to the learning and all of that stuff. He did really enjoy it. He made some friends. I will say it wasn't a hard group to get along with, but it did feel kind of, they had friends already and they had their setup, and it was people that had been doing it for a long time, and I was new. And at the time I was struggling with my bipolar disorder and depression, so it was kind of really hard for me. Now that's not what led to us pulling him out, but it wasn't a super, the environment was welcoming. I just wasn't in the place at the time to accept the welcoming, I guess. I just, all of it that goes into that. So he did that for a little while, and then about a month or two in, I talked to the director again, and I let her know that Braden wasn't really being challenged by the lessons in that classroom, because it was for very younger kids. It was a lot of like walking around and singing songs and memorization, which is fine, but he definitely needs a challenge. If he's not feeling challenged, he will not work as hard. Sorry, I have to keep holding this so it doesn't flop all over the place. So if he doesn't feel challenged, he doesn't work as hard. So we talked about moving him into the older classroom, which we did. And then my depression got really bad, and I think we missed like a week or two here or there, like with some space in between. And at that point just realized that it wasn't the curriculum that was working for us. And the reason that it wasn't working for us, it wasn't because of my depression or anything. It wasn't because of the meetings. It wasn't because of the group. It was because like I said, I need something laid out to help me teach and to help me follow instruction, and this didn't have that. So we would go through and it would give you like topics, and it would say like, this week we're going to talk about Gandhi. For me, I don't know how much to teach a 7-year-old about Gandhi. That's really hard for me. I don't know what concept level a 2nd grade child should have. So I was getting really discouraged really quickly. I didn't know how in depth to go with things, and I realized very quickly that it was not the curriculum for us. I need something a little bit more structured. At this point, one of my friends had been teaching her son through Abeka for a year or two, I believe at this point, maybe just a year. And we started talking about it a little bit. And I just realized that I really liked the curriculum that she was using. It was very laid out for you. There was the parent books, which was kind of like the teacher lesson plan. And it was kind of all just very, like I said, laid out for you. It was easy to follow. They gave you everything that you needed. So we decided to try that. I did, so we didn't technically finish 2nd grade. I just put him into 3rd grade at the start of last year. So there was a period where we weren't really doing anything for a few months, probably like 6 months. So he didn't technically finish 2nd grade. So he went into 3rd grade. He started doing 3rd grade curriculum, and that's what we've been doing this year. He does really well with it. He struggles a little bit with math, and I think that's because in Virginia he was on Common Core, and then he came here and they were on Common Core, and Abeka's not Common Core. So I think that's why he struggles a little bit with math, but he's doing like problem solving for unknown letters. So like, you know how you say like B plus Y equals 3 or whatever, he's solving for those, which I think is really fantastic, and I really don't think they're doing in public school at this age. I could be wrong, especially not on Common Core. I could be totally wrong. So that's what we've been doing. We weren't able to do, so there's 2 types of curriculums with Abeka. You can do accredited or unaccredited. Accredited is where they basically keep track of all the records for you. They keep track of all the grades, and it's like accredited. And with unaccredited, since we didn't have any proof that he completed 2nd grade, we had to do the unaccredited portion. And the only way we're able to get accredited then is if we find an umbrella school that is kind of like a catch-all for everyone. Those are pretty difficult to find. I searched for quite a while. When we decided to put him back in school, I thought we would need something saying like, hey, he finished 3rd grade, which, I mean, it's awesome, but you know, he doesn't need anything, so I mean, it works out. But so he doesn't need anything to show that he finished 3rd grade. We are still going to finish, but he doesn't need anything to show that he finished. And like I said, the umbrella schools are just really hard to find. A lot of them are state-based. The ones that are out-of-state based, I wasn't really able to find any. I think I found like one, and it was in Florida. I don't know if I'm looking for the wrong thing. I don't know. I mean, maybe I asked in a bunch of the homeschool groups here, and nobody really knew anything about them. So we just kind of were like, okay, well, I guess we're not going to be able to do that. We're either going to have to continue homeschooling, or we'll see what the school says. And when we talked to the school about registering him, they said they just put him into the grade equivalent for his age. So I like it and I don't. I'm kind of worried, but I think he'll be fine. I think he will do great. The other thing is he's learning cursive, and they don't teach that in public school anymore, which is kind of frustrating, but I love that he'll at least have the little bit of background about it, or through it, or know a little bit of how to do it. So that's what we've been doing, and I kind of talked a little bit in the first video, our choices to put him back into public school. It's really just because we don't homeschool well. I don't do it well enough. It just isn't a good fit for us, and that's okay. It's a good fit for a lot of people. For us, it just doesn't work out. So that's kind of our homeschooling journey and how we got here, how we decided to homeschool, why it's ending, and hopefully that will help you guys if you are thinking about homeschooling, deciding to homeschool, some reasons, a couple ideas of the curriculum. I'm going to do a separate video really into the curriculum, again, a little bit more in depth of why we chose Abeka, the difference between the two, and some of the other curriculums that we looked into. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was informational, and like I said, a lot of this I just like to look back and be able to show Braden like, hey, you know, this is what happened. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I will leave Abeka's website below. It's super easy to find, and then you guys can take a look at their stuff if you're interested. I'll also leave a link to the Classical Conversations, and you can take a look at that as well. So I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.